Hello Internet, it's me Josh, the Aging Gamer. So today, let's go ahead and talk about Sega's arcade hit classic, Golden Axe. Released in 1989 in the arcades and the SEGA Genesis that same year, Golden Axe became a series that kids of that era would know all about. I mean, look at that artwork, everyone is so buff and sexy. Golden Axe was created by Makoto Uchida, who also developed Altered Beast. Golden Axe was designed to be a Double Dragon meets Dragon Quest game with heavy inspiration from Conan the Barbarian. The game released to pretty modest results, and the series had a bunch of sequels and spin-offs, and became one of the many faces of Sega's first-party lineup. So what's my history with Golden Axe? Well, I never had the game per se. I never actually owned a physical cartridge, but I did play the game and all of its sequels on the SEGA Channel service way on back in the day. I also played the game on the many different SEGA Genesis collections that they've had. Today it seems like people mostly just know Golden Axe by name, so I thought it'd be fun to go ahead and revisit this title. It's definitely a lot more quirky than I remember, so I don't know, let's go ahead and take a look at it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the SEGA Genesis version of Golden Axe. In ancient times, there was the land of Uria, ruled by a king who guarded the legendary Golden Axe, a weapon that was wielded by giants that grants whoever holds it astonishing powers. The evil Death Adder, slaughterer of thousands, kidnaps the king and princess and has stolen the Golden Axe. Now he and his army have taken over Uria. 3 brave warriors have risen and planned to stop Death Adder, even if it means losing their own lives. So when you boot up the game, you get a few options. There's Arcade, which is the story mode, Beginner, which is a very easy version of the first 3 stages, it's kind of like a warm-up mode. There's The Duel, which lets you fight against player 2, or it gives you 10 rounds against enemies. It's a fun little mode to mess around with. And then there's the options, which lets you switch around the buttons, enjoy the sound test, and even lets you mess with your health bar. Since there's no penalties, I'm making that sucker as big as possible. But before we start the game, let's take a look at our 3 iconic Golden Axe fighters. First, we got Axe Battler. Yup, his name is actually Axe, but he has no axe. He uses a sword. Despite the fact that Axe Battler has an axe on the friggin' box art, there's no axe. What were they thinking? Anyway, his reason for fighting is because he wants to avenge his mother's death that was caused by Death Adder's forces. Next we got Tyrus Flare. This former Princess Amazonian had both her parents killed by the hands of Death Adder when she was a child. Now that she's older and stronger, she's ready to take him out. Armored with a white bikini and a silver sword, she's a force to be reckoned with. And last but not least, we got Gilius Thunderhead. Yeah, Thunderhead. His reason for fighting is because his brother was, you guessed it, killed by Death Adder. So he too is also seeking revenge. With his mighty axe, Wait, axe? So the dwarf gets the axe, but not the guy who's actually named Axe. Whatever. So yeah, you can pick between these 3 characters, and while they all kind of seem like they play the same at first, there's actually quite a few differences. While every character dishes out the same amount of damage, every character has its advantages and disadvantages. For example, Tyrus Flare has the shortest attack distance. However, she has a great speed dash attack and has the most powerful maximum magic attack, since she can hold a higher stock. Gilius Thunderhead has the longest weapon reach, however his magic attacks are rather weak and he can't hold that much magic stock. Axe Battler, on the other hand, kinda plays the middleman here. Not great and not terrible at anything, just overall average. Me personally, I like using old Thunderhead. His long attack reach is pretty handy. Axe Battler is great if you're a beginner, and Tyrus is pretty good apparently for speedrunners of the game. She's also pretty great for that eye candy. I mean, come on, someone programmed those sweet cakes into the game. So on to the game. You pick your character and you start, and you also get a briefing on your mission. Death Adder kidnapped the king and princess, and apparently your friend Alex has been killed. Who the hell is Alex? No idea. Because this game was made by SEGA, I could only assume Alex was Alex Kidd. And if he's dead, good. Just kidding. I know that Alex is actually from the arcade version of the game. So the controls are simple. A to use magic, B to attack with your weapon, and C to jump. Use the D-pad to move around, and double tap left or right to run. Combine buttons to do running attacks or jump strikes. Press attack and jump at the same time, and you can do a little sword twirl with either Tyrus or Axe. This attack is not that great in my opinion. It's a little slow and it aims who's ever behind you. It really leaves you open for attack if you miss too. Doing this combo with Thunderhead on the other hand gives you a rolling attack. He rolls, attacks, and then rolls back into place. You sneaky little bastard. This attack could also be interrupted, so use it wisely. I actually found it a bit useful to attack enemies before they get too close. It's just another reason I like playing as this guy. So the first stage, you're in the woods. You'll learn everything you need to know about playing this game from here. The enemies come out from the sides of the screens, and if they line up with you, they'll likely do a running attack. So make sure your character keeps moving and you can avoid them. Eventually you'll start fighting enemies who are riding these beasts called Bizarrians. There's dragons and these things called chicken legs. Wait, aren't you little assholes in Altered Beast too? Once you get to the end, you'll fight these two giant jabronis. If you haven't used your magic yet, now is a good time. If you're playing as Axe Battler, you'll have the volcano-like powers. Thunderhead, of course, has lightning abilities. And Tyrus Flare has fire powers. With magic being her strong suit, you bet she has some of the best looking spells. Look at this shit right here. Anyway, beat these guys and the first stage is complete. Your character is resting when these damn little munchkin thieving assholes come sneaking around. I hate these guys. Sure, they don't attack you and they're a great way to get more magic, but I just hate seeing their faces. They run around the screen with this asshole-ish derpy smile, and their official artwork makes it worse. They just got such a punchable face, which actually makes beating them up feel so damn satisfying. The next level, the Turtle Village, isn't a very long level. We enter the village, see some villagers run away, and we fight off a bunch of enemies. There's not much to say about this stage, so I'll take this time to point out that there's a part of me that sickly enjoys killing enemies in this game. Every time you kill one, it lets out a dying scream. The male soldiers, the female soldiers, the giant jabronis, and even the skeletons. Hell, even your character screams. Now we enter stage 3. We find out that Turtle Village was actually on the back of a gigantic turtle. What? How was that even possible? You know, whatever. Let's continue. We'll find some of those little thieves at the beginning. Plan it right and you can straight up murder these guys. Haha! We'll fight some more bad guys, like these guys, coming from the Deb house? Deb? Who is Deb? Is that supposed to be bed, like a rest house? We'll get to the boss soon enough, this Silver Knight dude. Let me say that the bosses in this game are only tough because they're surrounded by underlings. Once you get them down to a one-on-one fight, you'll see how terrible they actually are. Once it's just me and this guy, I can literally spam a running attack and he just takes it until he's dead. Stage 4, the Fiend's Path, is more or less the same stuff we've already seen, except here we get a few skeletons that pop out of the ground, and a wind effect that makes it seem like you're gonna get blown away, but it's all just visual. As we start stage 5, we find out that we're on the back of a giant eagle! Why are there so many gigantic animals in this world? We enter the castle gates where we fight through 2 red knights. We then go straight into stage 6, and we fight Death Adder. All things considered, he's not too hard to beat. Once he's defeated, we save the king and the princess. Hooray! Now in the arcade version of this game, it stops right here, but in the SEGA Genesis version, we still got a couple of stages to go. Stage 7 has us going through a dungeon. You're probably expecting this to be super hard, but if you play it right, you can watch about half the enemies kill themselves. The AI for some of these enemies is almost non-existent. AI might as well stand for absolute idiot. Some enemies will just fall to their deaths, or at least get close enough to the ledge so you can just push them over. Once we get past this, we'll reach the final stage, the battle with Death Adder, or Deathbringer as we later find out. This battle is tough. Deathbringer is pretty brutal and has a lot of special attacks he'll use. Some are just complete overkills. To make matters worse, he's got 2 skeleton cronies that seem like they have infinite hit points. You just can't get rid of them. Attacking 3 different enemies at the same time is tough, but with enough skills and luck, you can kill Deathbringer and save the kingdom. Yeah, we did it! Now, what's our reward? Why, it's just a few words of jib-jab. Roll the credits. Kind of a letdown ending, especially compared to the arcade version, where we see the bad guys entering the real world and our heroes chasing them down the street. But what's cool is that before the credits roll, we get short biographies on all the characters. And I do mean all the characters, even the villagers that were running away. It's a cool touch. I wouldn't have known some of these enemies' names without it, like Sergeant Malt and Sergeant Hop? Colonel Bitter? Wait, these enemies are named after liquor. What? After the biographies, we get to the credits with Thunderhead and, Longmoan? Ew. Playing baseball while Axe and Tyrus relax on some hard stones. The end. You then get a ranking on your playthrough. I got an A, but considering there's an A+, A++, and A+++, somehow a regular A ranking makes me feel like shit. And that's Golden Axe. So, by today's standards, is the game any good? Well, here's the thing. Here's the hard part about doing these retro reviews. I play the games, I learn some ins and outs, I get some knowledge on the game, and there's a part of me that falls in love with almost all the games I review because of it. So while I actually do like Golden Axe and have fun playing it, I gotta say, the game hasn't aged as well as other side-scrolling beat-em-ups, and it isn't for everyone. The levels themselves are very short. The bad guys are very repetitive. Yeah, there's a few different enemies, but other than bosses, they all fight exactly the same, so there's no strategy when fighting them. Every enemy attacks the same way too, they just swing a weapon or run when they line up with you. It makes it a bit cheap sometimes as they can run at you before you even see them on screen. And they'll also do this when you get in a scuffle with a different enemy. Sometimes it's just best to jump attack everyone. The beast mechanic is pretty cool though. That could be a concept for its own game. Maybe not. But yeah, the beasts are cool, but considering how short the levels are and how easy it is to get knocked off and lose your ride, it's a take it or leave it type deal for me personally. Because you can still take damage while on the beast, and pretty easily too, sometimes I just skip the beast altogether and stick to my strategy of fighting. But with all these things said, I don't think the game is bad, it's just they could have done more, which they did in later entries. I still find the original Golden Axe fun. It's even better than its arcade port. The movement is smooth, the game is colorful, and it's still a great SEGA Genesis game. It hasn't held up as well as, say, the Streets of Rage series, but for a game that came out in 1989 and was a launch title for the SEGA Genesis, it's awesome. But as a beat-em-up today, it's nothing too special. Golden Axe, I think, really deserves a revival these days. Not in that kind of way, but like in the way Streets of Rage 4 revived its series. It's a fun game that I think is worth checking out. Don't think you'll be blown away or anything, but it's a solid title that, like Altered Beast and Sonic the Hedgehog, gives me a feeling of what SEGA was all about in its early days. But these are just my opinions. What do you guys think? Like Golden Axe? Hate Golden Axe? Don't care for Golden Axe? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you want to see future videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I thank you guys for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys later.